Good evening, seekers of truth. Seekers of the unseen. Pull up a chair, dim the lights, and let's talk about the sky's dirty little secrets. The ones that governments tend to whisper about in skiffs, scientists bury in footnotes, and the disclosure movement claws at like a cat. I am Ty Roberts, and I am having trouble with my placement on the microphone. Tonight, in this raw, unfiltered, kind of solo narration, I just want to take a look and crack open the vault on this. No panels, no guests, just me, you, and the story that's been literally screaming for attention. It's all over X right now. Big debate, and we'll kind of start at the beginning. And I did. So what I want to do in this is I also want to. God damn, placement on this microphone is terrible. And it looks like the service is coming in. I've been having an issue with the internet here too. I apologize for that. I really just kind of threw this together last minute because everyone, like literally everyone, is talking about it. And I have some, we're going to talk about it in the live show tomorrow as well. So, I mean, kind of, I don't want to get too bogged down in it, but I definitely also want to give my like unfiltered and unfettered attention. So like I said, let's start at the beginning of the hypothesis that lit this fuse, and we'll kind of trace it through the white paper process. It survived the gauntlet of peer review, and I think that is it's what people and debunkers have been asking for so long. Like video evidence was no longer good enough. Pictures, clearly not good enough. So what we wanted, and what I think a lot of the community wanted, was active, like PhD scientists and experts working on this and writing papers. And now that we have that, I mean, it's like it's the goalposts just keep getting pushed back, and I get it. Like I get it. There are things that we need to be skeptical about, but I mean, come on. Who made these people who have made a career out of dismissal are almost, and I'm not going to name anyone, but some of the debunkers, they seem to be just as bad as like the UFO gurus. And it's just like, take them at their word and take them at this, and what they say is the truth, and anything outside of that is your opposition. Like, we can't disagree. We can't sit in the same room, disagree, but at the end of the day, shake hands and walk away, at least maybe learning something, or showing a bit of empathy, and being able to at least put yourself in the shoes of the other person. There's no more of that, right? In the world that we live in right now, it's just, if you don't agree, you become the enemy. And this is trickling down in so many different facets. I mean, look at Disclosure Tonight and those guys in Red Panda Koala. It's like, this stuff is taking over the drama, the inherent chaos that seems to be the UFO X community. And I'm guilty. Like, I'm not Jeremy Corbell and say that I don't interact with it. I definitely do, but I try to stay as neutral and as impartial as I can be, looking at it from both sides, just like I do on the show. But anyway, I want to look at how every turn the gatekeepers seem to have official disclosure, moving the goalposts, dangling transparency like it's a carrot on a string, and it's just always right out of reach. It's maybe not bedtime reading for the casual stargazer, though I'll try to keep it kind of simple. No PhD required, wink, wink. If you're knee deep in UAP lore, I think you'll nod along to the frustrations. If you're new, welcome. By the end, you'll see why these vanishing lights aren't just dots on old plates. They're a mirror to our place in the cosmos. And because the universe loves a plot with a twist, we'll cap it with an interstellar wild card. Everyone's watching right now, and it's 3i Atlas. It's the third cosmic drifter crashing our solar party with anomalies that make the VASCO Transient kind of look like not child's play. I wouldn't say that, but I think people are running rampant with the 3i Atlas story. There's definitely some oddities. I know I've been in talks with people like Avi Loeb, Mark D'Antonio. They don't agree at all. But then also I've been talking with my NASA, the NASA chief of aerospace medicine, who also, worked in, chemical engineering and was a flight surgeon and did a lot of work. I got him talking to me about it too, saying, certain things don't add up. So yeah, buckle up. Whether you like it or not, we're gonna jump into it. So let's rewind to 2017. Ironically, no, not going where you think we're going, but Beatriz Villarroel, Dr. Bia to her ex followers, at Dr. Bia Villarreal. If you're tweeting or ex posting this later, she's a Swedish astrophysicist with a nose for the anomalous. She's not chasing little green men. She's very much a data hound, sifting through dusty archives like a cosmic archaeologist. And she stumbles on something odd in the Palomar Observatory, Sky Survey Plate POS. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But those black and white snapshots from 1949 to 1958, and that is what's mapping the northern heavens on glass point like flash stars that blink on for a heartbeat under 45 minutes cosmically. That is so quick, and then vanish, no trace in follow-up exposures, no matches in modern catalogs like SDSS or Gaia Natural. Meteors streak. Wait, meteors streak. These are static points. Asteroids move predictably. Yes, that's how I wrote it. So these aren't typical, and I know I'm not. I don't pretend to know what this all means, which is why I was going to say I did grab the interview that she did with Ross Coulthart. So I want to play a couple of clips of that while we go through it. I did talk to her, and she did agree to come on the podcast. She hasn't answered since. Obviously, she's been super busy. But I really want her to come on and explain her hypothesis. But it hits like a rogue comet. These are transient objects vanishing and appearing. Sources during century of observations, or VASCO for short. Over 7 years, her team combed 600,000 plates, unearthing over 70,000 of those ghosts. But here's what's interesting, and kind of what has kept me interested. They cluster in linear alignments, hugging the geosynchronous Earth orbit, geo, that sweet spot, 36,000 kilometers up, where SATS, like weather birds, loiter, not random scatter soldiers in formation, marching across the sky. Early skeptics scoffed and said it was plate defects, and shadow geometry is something I've heard as of recent. But it seems that, or what was the other one? Emulsion glitches. from the analog era. And her counter has been statistical rigor. They're not just kind of like fuzzy smudges. They're sharp this is a word I did when I had to look it up like 4 times. They're sharp sub arcsecond points with magnitudes that are deliberate, and they vanish too quick for known junk meteors. Planes, even early balloons leave trails. And again, this is, an era that is, pre the space program. So, nothing's supposed to be up there. So I want to bring in this, what is it called? This interview that she did. And we'll go back to the other part in a minute. But hopefully you guys can hear this. Or is it? Let me know if you can hear it.
Identified objects into a peer-reviewed journal, especially journals as prestigious as the ones you're talking about. Let me do a quick summary. So the study that you did, you were looking at pre-satellite transient sky events. And you basically analyzed nearly 300,000 short-lived transient events that were captured on red sensitive photographic plates from the first Palomar sky survey. And these exposures were all taken between 1948 and before humans put satellites up in the late 1950s. And each of these exposures lasted about 45, 50 minutes. And you focused on identifying cases where 3 or more transient points appeared along a straight line during the same exposure. And the reason why those lines matter is if a single flash appears on a sky plate, it could be a glitch, but multiple point-like lights perfectly aligned and visible in one long exposure photo, that hints at something coordinated, possibly spinning or reflective objects. And you can rule out natural sources like meteors, stars, and asteroids. They don't line up and appear simultaneously. You can rule out now plate defects because you were able to show, weren't you, as you told us previously, that when you go into the shadow of the sun, obviously it removes the reflectiveness. So clearly it's not a plate defect. And you basically, what the only plausible explanation is artificial reflections from flat, highly reflective surfaces in geosynchronous orbit. That's exactly what explains you're talking about. How many of these objects are we talking about, Beatriz?
So we had 2 candidates that are highly interesting that the paper resulted in. There's still one little caveat. For these 2 candidates, there's a minuscule chance that it might be something called optical ghosting on in the instruments.
When that door keeps doing that, I keep thinking it's in here. So I'm like, what the hell is that? So I hope everyone, I got this camera switcher and I'm just so obsessed with the T-bar fade. It's so fun to do. But yeah, I'm sorry. I do have to stop it every couple seconds so we don't get copyright striked. But I'm again trying to, that was creepy. How do I?
Speaks against it is because we looked at the blue sensitive images and you don't see anything there. If it would be optical ghosting, you would also see with the same setup of the instruments, you would see something there, but we don't. However, we always leave that little caveat. But what even more talks about that these things are real is because when we look at all the transients, not only at the aligned ones, but all the transients in the Earth shadow, we do see this huge deficit of transients. And that really speaks for that what we are dealing with are solar reflections from very flat, very reflective objects in geosynchronous orbits.
Doctor, tell me, what could this be? What are these objects?
That's a good question.
Well, these are objects before Sputnik 1 when humans had nothing up there. And these things, no matter what they are, they need to be really flat, reflective like a mirror. And I personally don't know anything natural that produces and that looks like that fulfills.
I know something, and I've had Avi Loeb. Oh, this is a good moment for oh no, I'm already on that camera. So let me go to this camera and say, this is a good moment for a camera switch. I had Avi Loeb in that chair. I have not aired the episode yet, but I had Avi Loeb in that chair a while back. And I need to invite him back in, but Oumuamua, what Avi was saying that Oumuamua looked like, and that it could possibly be a probe. And I don't think we got enough data on it. And again, I'm not saying that that's exactly what it is, but you know, if 3i, and that's why I tied 3i Atlas in, because 3i Atlas is giving that very that nickel with no iron. It's giving that signature, which is we've never seen. We don't see nickel without iron, and you know, iron being very heavy and corrosive, we don't use it. We separate it and use that in our space program. So again, this is pre-space program. So again, pointing towards and 3i Atlas. Do I think it's an alien spaceship? Probably not. Is it interesting? And could it be some sort of probe that does hide itself as a rock? Or I think it's totally plausible. And just, I mean, the debunkers are like, even Mark D'Antonio is an astronomer and a good friend of mine. Like, I kind of got in a disagreement with him, and I'm like, dude, like, stop downplaying it. Like, it's super interesting.
These requirements.
And
so
am I correct in saying there are literally tens of thousands of these objects that you've detected?
we see that roughly 35,000 transients are belonging to this kind of category, but that is just for the northern hemisphere, which means that we would need to have around 70,000 of transients around, I mean, for the whole Earth. And from that, we can estimate that maybe tens of thousands to 100,000 of objects around the Earth must have been there.
So
now, we know that they were there in pre-Sputnik 1950s. What
Yes.
do we know about whether they're still there? Can we rule out the possibility or the probability that they're still there in geosynchronous orbit?
I have no idea, because if these are what I think they are, I mean, if these are artificial objects which the signatures are pointing towards, I have no idea what they could have done, or if they are there still. I would assume they're there still.
But it's a reasonable conclusion, isn't it, Doctor, that if these are artificial objects,
Yes.
some civilization has constructed them.
Yes, I would say so. I mean, it's not ours.
And when your peer review colleagues asked you questions, were they aware
to
of the
that.
significance of what these papers are pointing to?
I don't know. We were talking about the technicalities, not about the implications.
It's interesting because scientists get bogged down, and obviously for good reason, in exploring alternative prosaic explanations. But when you think about it and step back from the implications of what you're saying, this is massive. You are the author or the lead author of two papers which essentially suggest that there are artificial constructed objects in geosynchronous Earth orbit in the 1950s before humans sent up satellites. And to this day, we don't know if those objects are still there, but they are indicative of something constructed.
Isn't that exciting?
Good for you. I mean, the implications are this might be the first scientific evidence of a non-human intelligence.
And it certainly is going to be, what I like about this is that we are giving exact methods and strategies for people to explore the UFO question and the question if they are here through just easily available methods that many astronomers over the whole world can work with, because these plate archives exist in so many countries. And you don't need to be part of some very expensive, big collaboration, because if you have access to this open data, anyone can go in, they can analyze these data sets, they can download them, and they can check if there's a deficit in the Earth shadow or if they see alignments. It's a very open source way of working. So I think, yes, we are going to be able to really pin down a very secure answer very soon if more people try to replicate this and work with the same questions.
So fast forward, since this interview, we're going to fast forward to 2025, and Beatriz is not hypothesizing anymore. She's publishing white papers and drops them as a preprint on a place called, now I'm not familiar with what this is, AR, is it XIV or XIN? It's some, whatever, it's some group, and she co-authors, the co-authors on the paper include Enrique Solano and cadre of International Eyes, the bombshell, a 22 sigma statistical deficit that's not a typo, 22 standard deviations. So that's the kind of number that makes lottery wins look probable. Anyway, the transients during Earth's shadow hours, when the plates caught the night side sky, sunlight out of glints are off. They're completely off. So what that says, I guess, is that these aren't stars or quasars. They're reflections, like she said in the interview, from these flat mirror-like surfaces. And, you know, that really, again, that drives me towards the idea of something like Oumuamua, which Avi said was flat like a pancake, and if it was made of, you know, these like 3i Atlas, which, you know, was nickel, or it has a lot of nickel and no iron, that's a metallic surface. I mean, and that would, you know, kind of shine off. But again, this is the pre-satellite era. So that is what is so interesting. But the debunkers, like, you know, and the debunkers, they're the ones that you would probably expect. I don't want to. I don't. We don't have to name anyone. But I did bookmark a couple posts, and so Beatriz submitted her paper. It's been peer reviewed, which is, again, something that we've been asking for in the community for so long. And Avi Loeb and Harvard and they were doing their thing with the Galileo project. Then there's Gary Nolan and the Saul Foundation. They're doing their thing, and it finally seemed like there were real scientists, like they were real like brilliant minds coming into this field and coming into it with really not, you know, not again, they're not chasing little green men, so to say, but they're also not afraid to ask the question, what if? And I think every scientist should ask that, what if? And I think Beatriz especially has put forth data, a peer-reviewed paper, a white paper, but then she submits it to this place. Apparently, it's where papers go to live or die, you know, and some of them aren't even published, but they get put on there so that other scientists can read them and go through them, and, you know, so it apparently gets rejected from this site, which is also a site that, or a server, so to say, that had put up in maybe, I think, I don't know when it exactly was, but they had put up a paper that, you know, was challenging of what Beatrice is saying or putting forth in her paper. And the reasoning they gave her, and I have it, I'll pull it up in 1 sec on Twitter. The reasoning they gave her said one of them was that it was just not of interest. But they ran in a paper that was in challenging it. So it was of interest then. Is that what made them not interested in her? And again, is that something we see where someone muddies the water, right? Before the real work can be done. We've been dealing with that in the UFO community for forever, literally. The same time David Grush testifies, a Miami or the Las Vegas alien thing happens, and it just muddies the water, so no one cares about any of it. Or the Miami Mall happens while this thing's happening, and it happens to us all the time. So anyway, with that being said, it seems like that could be a reason, but this server does not take her paper. And let me share on X. Share this tab instead. I don't know if you can see this. Oh, it doesn't show me on the viewfinder. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, dear author, thank you for 1 second. Let me get this banner. Thank you for submitting your work to. Okay, so it isn't a V. I thought I mistyped it. ARXIV. We regret to inform you that this place, moderators have determined that your submission will not be accepted and made public on the website. Our moderators determined that your submission does not contain sufficient original or substantive scholarly research and is not of interest to ARXIV. For more information, yada, yada, yada. Moderators strive to balance fair, and this is key, fair assessment with decision speed. We understand that this decision may be disappointing, and we apologize that due to the high volume of submissions that we receive, we cannot offer more detailed feedback. Some authors have found that asking their personal network of colleagues or submitting it to a conventional journal for peer review are alternate avenues to obtain feedback. And that's that. So what that says to me is that it's so hard to say it without sounding like a complete and utter asshole. But to me, that is just so blatant. It's so on the. It's so exactly what you'd expect, right? Being in this community, and it seems whenever we take 3 steps forward, we're taking 8 back at the same time, and there is clearly something that is gatekeeping, and something, whether it's some individuals, an entity, the deep state as people call it, or just stigma alone, whether it's bias, actual bias on a human level. There is no place for people who think like that anymore. It's like we're on a rock, flying, hurtling through space. And not only are we as a solar system hurtling through space, but our galaxy is hurtling through space. And that is all hurtling through space. Like the fact that we are not chasing down the biggest story, and as scientists, and I think what another person said, let me go to it. It's Astral. He's a good friend of mine. What he said was he thinks that because in the paper, apparently they get to, where the hell is it? They get to talking about nuclear, nuclear connection. There was also a connection that I know she talks about with, there was the connection with the Washington, D.C. Flyover. That, by the way, that is profound to me. That was a connection to it, because I find that to be super interesting, super compelling. And if I haven't read the whole thing, but if what she's saying is that at nuclear testing, I mean, I don't know how it gets into nuclear. Oh, here it is. Astral said, in his opinion, the paper by Dr. Villarroel likely got cut from the server for crossing into too many fields. Those fields being astro, nuclear, physics, and UAP data. The article is tough to classify, so it was rejected on scope. And I don't know if this is AI that he's pulling from here, but he gives some reasons and moderator views on why he thinks it wasn't. So I don't know. There could be a rational explanation for why it was not accepted. Maybe I am letting my bias show. I don't know, but I thought it again. I find it wonderful. So this is Beatrice's post. So she posted, wonderful news. Our 2 new VASCO papers are now peer-reviewed, accepted, and published, and they reveal some extraordinary things. She finds statistically significant correlations between short-lived transients. Again, this is a pre-Sputnik, so pre any space program. Sky plates, UFO sightings, and above-ground nuclear tests. Wow. Again, nuclear tests, that's my area of interest, especially. We show a 22 whatever that symbol is, deficit. Oh, that's what I had in the thing that I wrote out, that I think I copied it from here. Deficit of transients inside Earth's shadow. Consistent. And again, that's a really interesting aspect of it. In Earth's shadow. So they're not, again, anyway, so consistent with a fraction of these events originating from solar reflections from flat, highly reflective surfaces in orbit before the human space age began. Together with their earlier MNRAS paper, these results from triptych of new methods to investigate UAP using astronomical data. These, they're independent high-level journals, and these independent peer review processes. These latest results raise a bold question, and yes, you know which. God, she's good. That was really good. If I had read it and clearly and concisely, that would have come off so much cooler. Hopefully. So there, I mean, what she's saying there is and then she explains what this organization is. And it's where physicists and astronomers share preprints. So if a paper isn't there, can you guys see this? Yeah, you can. So it serves as the central hub. So this server serves as the central hub for open scientific exchange, where unpublished, newly accepted, and even rejected manuscripts are shared so that other researchers can read, test. So there you go, debunkers who are saying that these need to be replicated. Well, that's what she's saying. Test and build upon the work. It's how ideas circulate rapidly and transparently, long before and sometimes regardless of a true formal publication. Now, both of our accepted and peer-reviewed papers in PASP and scientific reports have been rejected from the server. In one case, she was told place an older work. In the other, and that's the one that I mentioned, that research was, quote, not of interest to the server and platform. Empirical results, peer review, and publication in high quality journals are no longer enough to satisfy, the gatekeepers. Scientists are being prevented from reading new results. The UFO stigma remains strong. And again, I think I talked about that as well. So she is chalking it up to UFO stigma and maybe a little bit of gatekeeping. What do you guys think in the comments? Let me know. I really, we're going to be diving in this tomorrow into the live show. And I'm super excited about it. I really am. Because I think I have so much to say on this. And it's really fascinating to me, this whole thing, the transients. And I'll play a little bit more of that clip. But I want to get something to hear. So vetted. So I have had Mick West. I've had him on the show multiple times. And I say that because I'm having Tim Phillips on as well. And people have been pretty upset at me for that one for some reason. And then asking me to, get involved in other drama-ish stuff. Maybe not drama. Maybe it's not drama, but like, I just want to have my discussions with these people. I want to ask them the hard questions about stuff like the Wall Street Journal article and Malmstrom and this bogus idea that an EMP, like the directed EMP, was used and so that was happening. And I'm going a little off tangent here, but so you're telling me that hazing ritual was used against the hazing ritual was used against people that were entering special access programs. You fucking lie to them and tell them that there's UFOs, show them pictures, right? And then never tell them that it was a hazing ritual. Just forget that the best part of it is them finding out that it's a hazing ritual or a joke. Like, it doesn't make sense, that part, right? Because eventually the person that gets hazed becomes the hazer. So they get let in on it all. And that's not what's happening, clearly. And then to say that Malmstrom was an EMP, like, if you don't think I'm going to ask him about that kind of stuff, like, then you don't, I don't know if I want to get involved with this other stuff. It's not my place. Like, it's not. So, and we had to move the date because of all this nonsense, and that upsets me because it just upsets me. But I want to do what's right, so like I'll run it by and I'll ask, like, hey, do you want to talk about this? But if he says no, I'm gonna respect that. Like, I'll ask, but if he doesn't want to, then I'll respect it. I'm there for total disclosure. But vetted commented, so there's this thing. So Mick West is saying that, so Mick West did get like attacked by a lot of the believers and I don't think we should be attacking Mick, because Mick's doing Mick. This is what Mick does all the time. This is what he does. This is Mick, right? He tries to find the prosaic explanation, and that's what he does. Like, if we need that kind of stuff, and if UFO X can already feel not like an echo chamber. I don't want to call it an echo chamber, but if you're in spaces with the same people every night, you're going to create the same conversations and the same, then there's going to be the narrative split. And that's where I get, like I said, I get a little dicey, because if we're defending Elizondo like he's your, fantasy football team, and I say this maybe ad nauseum, that like that's a problem, right? If you're defending Stephen Greer, like, like if you're staking your mortgage on it, like that kind of, like if that's the hill you want to die on, like it just doesn't make sense to me. Like we should understand that one person isn't going to drive disclosure. It's going to be a group effort, and it's going to take, you know, the general public. That's what these hearings are for. That's what, you know, people often get upset with these hearings that they're not going as deep as they could be. And yeah, I agree, right? But it's also for the general public to get involved and to see that it's being discussed. And that's why each one is so monumental. You know, we had one in 70 years, and then we've had 4 in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years. So the needle is moving, the stigma is shedding, the scientists are getting involved. White paper, like everything that Carl Sagan was asking for, right? With great, I almost said with great power comes great responsibility. Oh, it's been a day. It's also late, and I gotta go soon. We'll be talking about this again tomorrow. But yes, with great power does come great responsibility. However, I honestly can't even remember the real saying right now. Does anyone have it in the chat for me? No, extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. I don't like that saying personally, because evidence is evidence, but the claims and Michio Kaku, where's he gone? He like disappeared. Where the fuck did that guy go? He was in like every UFO thing, and then all of a sudden he just disappeared, and I haven't seen him since. But he said something that I always really liked, and that was the burden of proof has shifted to the non-believer. We've got the videos, we've got the pictures, right? It's getting a little bit more challenging with the videos and pictures with, you know, AI and, you know, the advent of like really, really good special effects at a very accessible, and anyone can learn Blender, and anyone can learn how to do, like, it's like the Cousin Brothers for me are a good example. Like a bunch of their stuff, like, come on, like they made a whole career off of it. And, you know, don't hate the player, hate the game, right? I hate that every time I'm on UFO X or on some Facebook group. Yes, I do sometimes peruse the Facebook groups because I'm apparently old, someone said. But I was using the Facebook or scrolling the Facebook group, and it was really, it gets really like toxic. And I came from the world of movies and Hollywood, and that was toxic. This is a little bit less toxic, believe it or not, but it's still highly, like, people are at each other's throats, and you know, it's like the Star Wars fan base. Like they can't ever seem to agree, and maybe that's just something. But I think the point to what I'm saying is, I don't think the UFO community should be something like the Star Wars community, because what we're dealing with is real. It's real. Like this should be the cutting edge. It's one of the most like basic fundamental questions as an existentially capable being, right? What happens after death? Are we alone in the universe? These are things that we ponder because we're conscious. What is consciousness? Why can I sit here and have this conversation with you? Why can I reflect and make noises out of my mouth that are sent through digital waves to right now 196 people total on X and YouTube that are able to hear me, you know, maybe with a little delay because the internet in the studio, we have to have the guy come out. So there could be a little delay. See, I worked that in. But pretty much instantaneously. Like, look at the fact that we're here is a fucking miracle. The fact that we're not like on some, like, we weren't just born into some apocalyptic fucking hellscape is because of love. It's because of compassion. It's because of structure, you know, religion and society. And, you know, love it, hate or love it. But I mean, we got it pretty good. And, you know, UFO disclosure, it shouldn't be like a movie community. It should be like, you know, something that's, again, and I think we are getting there finally, where real experts like Avi Loeb, like Rizwan Virk, like Brian Keating, like Jesse might, well, I don't know if Jesse's a expert, so to say, but he's a genius when it comes to research and retaining information, connecting dots. So yeah, Jesse, I mean, I think Jesse does a great job. And yeah, so I mean, I think we are getting to a place that's awesome and it's amazing, but it's not coming without its challenges. And I think the digital age is really, it's something that, I mean, when you give everybody a voice, you give everybody a voice. So that's just the way the internet's always going to be, I suppose. But it can be, and that's why I really advise people, like, the UFO community, it's intoxicating because, again, we are talking about like real, the implications are so outstandingly paradigm shifting, right? So I understand that, you know, when we talk about these things, it's easy to become enamored and to like, this is the only topic that people just throw themselves into and they just never come up for air. But like, go on a hike. Like, I know that the cliche, like, go touch grass troll comment, but actually go touch grass. Like, go out on a hike, go out with your friends, get away from UFOs for a while and go try to, you know, maybe you'll see one. And then, you know, I don't know, something amazing will happen. But you have to have, and Chris Bledsoe at the time got ridiculed for saying this, but if you're not looking and if you're not willing to see, then you're not going to see. And I do believe that. I do. I think that's why a lot of children see these things. I was a child, you could say, when I saw mine at 10 or 11 years old. But we're in a new place. We are in uncharted territory right now as a species with AI and the advancement of AI and the scariness of the existential crisis that, you know, that it's like we're facing down the barrel of a gun, but we're also pointing the gun. That paints a weird picture. Scratch that, but you know what I mean. We're about to create God. Not we. I'm not about to create God, like some other conscious being. It probably is. AI already sentient? I don't know. Maybe. Anyway, I'm going off on tangents here. So what was the last thing I wanted to say was, so Vetted was bringing it up. Mick West was saying the gold standard of science is not peer review, which really does fucking frustrate me. Because now, so, and he says, it is independent replication. And of course, like that's part of the process. But why come at it from that angle? It's a peer-reviewed paper with really compelling data in it. It's everything that people have wanted for so long. And this one isn't like some crazy weird, like, you know, interdimensional galactic federation. Like, this is literally, you know, as cut and dry as it gets, accounting for error. And I think that's great. You know, I think the fact that this is even happening, that scientists are involved, and we're getting to these points, these things that 20 years ago, if any one of these events happened, and we seem to be getting them on weekly basis, these big whistleblower things, and again, I use that term loosely, whistleblower, but these great witness accounts from the military and, private sector and contracting and special forces and, so on and so forth. We're getting these amazing accounts. Some of them, of course, take it with a grain of salt. These amazing events are happening. Any one of these things 25 years ago would have been the highlight of the 10-year period. And so there's a lot happening. It's a lot to keep track of, but that's why we do the live show on Thursdays now. And we'll dive deeper into this. But I wanted to just watch maybe 2-3 more minutes of the, actually, no, I don't. I don't want to get copyright striked or anything like that. So I'll just probably end it there. I really impromptu kind of threw this together. It was like, let's just I want to get more engaging with the audience, the video audience, especially, I want to play with the camera switcher. Admittedly, I want to play with the camera switcher. But anyway, and that's why I bought, this studio, is to do these things. And so I expect more of it. The debunkers, I guess the moral of the whole, I probably said that 3 times. The moral of this is we should be really happy that serious people are involved. And don't attack Mick West. Don't attack Mick for having the Mick West, that's what Mick does. Don't get mad at him over it. Just don't engage with it if you don't want to, but also don't engage with the other people that are, echo, don't surround yourself with an echo chamber. And, if someone has opposing or conflicting, views, bounce ideas off of each other, right? You don't have to agree. And no one's perfect. No one's perfect. So, I liken it to the neighborhoods. The neighborhoods I grew up in, it was like open door policy, right? From the city, I lived in a city, to living in the suburbs. It was an open door policy in both of the areas. And that's where that saying, it takes a village, came from. Now, people don't know their neighbors. They hate their neighbors. One has a Trump sign, one has a this sign. And there's no kids outside playing. Trick-or-treating is less every year. We are headed in there's so much isolation going on that it does scare me. And maybe we can get into this one day on the podcast or the live show. But the way things are going needs to change. Ready Player One, we need to all I think the internet needs to shut down on one day a week. You can have access to basic functions like calling, anything that would require an emergency that. But we should be, I think the internet, for the most part, everything should shut down for a day and everyone gets unplugged. And we just societally, we agree to that. Just unplug. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Pretty good turnout for no promotion. Thank you guys. I appreciate it. And again, we're going to be live tomorrow at 6:30 with my co-host Kari Lindsay, who also is the editor of the podcast, the actual weekly podcast, with a great guest that we have every single week. The episode coming up is a special one. Yeah, it's a special one. So definitely look out for it. We'll see you guys on the other side.